Why I always make mistakes. Leo often felt a heavy weight of frustration. Why I always make mistakes, he'd whisper, staring at his English textbooks. Every sentence felt like a minefield of potential errors, pronunciation stumbling blocks, and grammar traps. This constant battle chipped away at his confidence, making him question his entire learning journey. He yearned for fluency. One afternoon, a YouTube video appeared in his recommendations. The title was compelling: Why You Should Practice Speaking Every Single Day. It spoke directly to his deepest anxieties and his current stagnation. He had been focusing too much on passive learning, neglecting the crucial active component. This realization marked a subtle shift in his approach. The video continued, outlining practical steps. How to learn English isn't a secret formula, the presenter explained. It's a consistent application of various methods. Leo decided to treat his learning like an adventure, an exciting quest for new knowledge and improved communication skills. He knew structure was key. A segment about "Learn English Through Stories" particularly captivated him. The idea of immersing himself in narratives, rather than just drills, sounded incredibly appealing. He imagined words and phrases sticking more naturally, woven into the fabric of interesting plots and memorable characters. This felt less like studying. He immediately sought out beginner-friendly audiobooks and simple graded readers. The initial discomfort of not understanding every single word quickly faded as the plots unfolded. He found himself guessing meanings from context, a skill he hadn't fully appreciated before. This method offered a refreshing break from rote memorization. Leo also started paying closer attention to how other people talk in English. He'd observe native speakers on television, listen to podcasts, and even discreetly note conversations around him. Their intonation, natural pauses, and idiomatic expressions were fascinating. It was like observing a complex dance. Yet, the path wasn't entirely smooth. My daily day's struggle was a very real, tangible experience. Some days, he felt completely overwhelmed, words eluding him, grammar rules jumbling in his mind. The sheer volume of information felt daunting, and his progress sometimes seemed painfully slow. He questioned his abilities. The biggest hurdle was learning how to think and speak simultaneously. He would mentally translate from his native language, which slowed him down considerably. His thoughts often felt clumsy and disjointed when he attempted to form them directly in English. This internal process was exhausting. Then he rediscovered why reading is so important. Beyond stories, he began reading articles, blog posts, and even short news pieces on topics that genuinely interested him. Reading exposed him to diverse vocabulary, complex sentence structures, and various writing styles, expanding his linguistic horizons. He coupled reading with listen and practice. He'd listen to a short audio clip, then try to repeat sentences, mimicking the intonation and rhythm. Sometimes, he even recorded himself to objectively assess his pronunciation. This active engagement was incredibly beneficial for his speaking. Slowly but surely, the pieces began to click into place. He noticed fewer hesitant pauses, his vocabulary expanding, and his confidence growing. The fear of making mistakes, while still present, no longer paralyzed him. He celebrated small victories, like successfully holding a short conversation. He started to reframe his perspective on mistakes. Instead of viewing them as failures, he saw them as invaluable learning opportunities. Each error highlighted an area for improvement, a specific rule to review, or a pronunciation to refine. They were signposts on his journey. His consistent effort became his greatest asset. Even on days when motivation waned, he committed to at least 15 minutes of active English engagement. This disciplined approach ensured steady, albeit sometimes imperceptible, progress over time. Consistency truly was his secret weapon. He sought out opportunities to engage with real English speakers. Online language exchange partners, virtual discussion groups, and even casual conversations with tourists became part of his routine. These interactions pushed him out of his comfort zone and into practical application. He learned that there wasn't just one correct way to speak English. Observing various accents and dialects, he grew comfortable with the diversity of the language. This broadened his understanding and reduced his anxiety about sounding perfect. Authenticity became more important than flawless speech. Immersion, even if simulated at home, proved incredibly powerful. He changed his phone's language settings, watched English movies without subtitles, and listened to English music, actively trying to understand the lyrics. His environment gradually transformed into an English bubble. One major barrier was his self-consciousness. The fear of being judged for his accent or grammatical errors often stifled his attempts to speak. He realized that most native speakers were encouraging and appreciated the effort, not scrutinizing every single word. This mindset shift was pivotal. He moved from, "I make mistakes, therefore I'm bad at English," to, "I make mistakes, therefore I'm learning." This positive affirmation fueled his continued efforts and made the learning process far more enjoyable and sustainable. His daily routine now incorporated diverse English activities. Mornings began with a podcast, lunch breaks with a chapter from an English novel, and evenings often included watching an English documentary or chatting with a language partner. Learning became integrated into life. Vocabulary acquisition became more organic. Instead of memorizing lists, he picked up new words from context during his reading and listening sessions. He'd note down particularly useful or interesting phrases, reviewing them actively the following day. This approach was highly effective. Grammar, once a terrifying labyrinth, started to make more sense when seen in context. He noticed patterns in sentences he read and heard, rather than just memorizing isolated rules. This allowed for deeper understanding and more natural application of principles. The goal of how to think and speak directly in English slowly became attainable. He practiced narrating his daily activities in his head, describing objects around him, and even forming opinions silently. This internal monologue significantly improved his fluency. He learned to break down the daunting goal of fluency into smaller, manageable milestones. Mastering a new verb tense, understanding a complex idiom, or having a 5-minute conversation without pauses were all celebrated as significant achievements. Small wins fueled big progress. Persistence was his unwavering companion. There were still days when he felt like giving up, when progress seemed agonizingly slow, but he reminded himself of his initial reasons for learning. His dedication to consistent effort never truly faltered. Learn English through stories, continued to be a cornerstone of his learning. The emotional connection to characters and plots made the language unforgettable. He found himself retelling these stories in his own words, reinforcing vocabulary and structure naturally. He discovered the social aspect of learning. Sharing his struggles and triumphs with other learners, even online, created a supportive community. They exchanged tips, offered encouragement, and sometimes even practiced together, making the journey less solitary. He became adept at utilizing a wide array of online resources. Language learning apps, YouTube tutorials, pronunciation guides, and interactive quizzes supplemented his primary learning methods. The digital world offered an endless supply of helpful tools. His primary focus shifted from grammatical perfection to effective communication. He understood that being understood was more important than sounding like a textbook. This reduced pressure and allowed him to speak more freely and confidently. Listen and practice evolved. He moved beyond simply hearing words to actively listening for nuances, implied meanings, and cultural contexts. This deeper level of auditory comprehension greatly improved his ability to respond appropriately. He realized that true English learning happened outside the traditional classroom. It was in the casual conversations, the songs he sang along to, and the articles he devoured online. Life itself became his greatest English teacher. Observing how other people talk in English became a subtle art. He paid attention to filler words, natural hesitations, and the way people transitioned between topics. This helped him make his own speech sound more authentic and less robotic. There were moments of pure joy, like fully understanding a complex joke or following a rapid-fire conversation with ease. These small triumphs reaffirmed his progress and fueled his motivation to continue pushing his boundaries further. Maintaining motivation was a continuous challenge. Some days he felt completely drained, wondering if he would ever achieve true fluency. He combated this by reminding himself of his long-term goals and celebrating every tiny step forward. He learned to embrace the journey itself, with all its ups and downs, rather than fixating solely on the destination. The process of learning English became an enriching part of his daily life, a continuous intellectual adventure. His improved English skills had a ripple effect across his life. He could access more information, connect with a wider range of people, and even enhance his professional opportunities. The investment in learning truly paid dividends. Why reading is so important transcended mere study. He began reading for pure pleasure, losing himself in English novels and non-fiction books. This natural engagement significantly boosted his vocabulary and understanding of complex structures without conscious effort. The once terrifying prospect of speaking with native speakers transformed into an exciting challenge. He learned to initiate conversations, ask clarifying questions, and express his opinions without constant fear of judgment. His confidence soared with each interaction. His internal monologue increasingly shifted to English. He'd find himself planning his day, reviewing conversations, and even dreaming in English. This natural integration demonstrated the depth of his progress in how to think and speak. He started to identify specific weaknesses and dedicate focused practice to them. If prepositions were tricky, he'd do targeted exercises. If a certain pronunciation bothered him, he'd repeat words endlessly until it felt right. This personalized approach was key. Seeking and accepting feedback, even critical feedback, became crucial. He asked language partners to correct his errors and pointed out areas where he could improve. This willingness to learn from others accelerated his progress significantly. His ability to discuss a wider range of topics expanded. From everyday life to abstract concepts, he found himself able to articulate complex ideas with increasing clarity and precision. His linguistic versatility grew exponentially. When he felt a plateau in his learning, he diversified his methods. Trying a new podcast, watching a different genre of movie, or finding a new language partner helped break the monotony and reignite his passion for improvement. Regular review of new vocabulary and grammar rules solidified his learning. Instead of just acquiring information, he consciously worked to retain it through spaced repetition and active recall exercises. Retention became as important as acquisition. He learned to celebrate non-perfection. The goal wasn't to eliminate all mistakes, but to communicate effectively and confidently. This acceptance of imperfection liberated him from undue pressure and allowed for more natural expression. English became a gateway to new cultures. Through the language, he explored different perspectives, customs, and artistic expressions. It was no longer just a subject, but a tool for global connection and understanding. The initial fear of "why I always make mistakes" had gradually transformed into an excitement for the next linguistic challenge. Each error now represented a puzzle to solve, and an opportunity to refine his understanding. He developed a strong ability for self-correction. During conversations, he could often catch his own errors and rephrase sentences more accurately, even without external correction. This demonstrated a deeper intuitive grasp of the language. The simple, consistent act of listen and practice daily proved to be incredibly transformative. These seemingly small efforts accumulated over time, creating significant improvements in his comprehension and speaking fluidity. His personal answer to how to learn English became clear. It was a blend of active engagement, diversified input, consistent output, and a resilient mindset. There was no single magic bullet, but a combination of dedicated strategies. He even started sharing his own journey with others, offering advice based on his experiences with "My Daily Days Struggle." He became an advocate for persistent practice and embracing mistakes as part of the learning process. Leo had reached a new level of fluency, where conversations flowed naturally, and expressing himself felt effortless. He no longer translated in his head, he simply thought and spoke, seamlessly navigating the English language. Even with significant progress, he knew the learning never truly stopped. He continued to challenge himself, exploring advanced vocabulary, nuanced expressions, and diverse accents. The journey of language learning remained ongoing. The greatest reward was the sheer joy of true communication. Connecting with people from different backgrounds, sharing ideas, and understanding diverse perspectives enriched his life in profound ways. English opened new worlds. He felt empowered by his linguistic capabilities. The ability to communicate effectively in English gave him confidence not only in language but in other areas of his life, fostering a sense of accomplishment and growth. His journey stood as a testament to the power of consistent effort and a positive learning mindset. From the initial frustration of "why I always make mistakes," he had built a bridge to fluency. His advice to anyone struggling: embrace practice, immerse yourself in stories, read widely, listen actively, and learn how to think and speak directly. Most importantly, accept mistakes as valuable teachers, not failures. Leo understood that learning English wasn't about eradicating errors but about mastering communication. His fluency wasn't about perfection, but about connection and the freedom to express his true thoughts and feelings.